second to get everything situated here. Kind of running a little bit late getting started. By the way, this is the April 2023 live stream. Get my lighting. That's a little better, right? All right, cool. So this is going to be a little bit of a rough start. Essentially, my roommate would not leave me alone. He knew this was starting, and so he asked me a million stupid questions and would not go away. So I'm just now getting everything set up. Hope this works for everyone. So let's get started. Start dropping questions in the comments, and until you guys do that, I'll let you know what's up. Drink for today, as always, got the Hydro Flask, but it's just Diet Pepsi today. It's been a weird month. We'll probably talk about it as we go through here, but it's been a weird month. A lot of stuff has gone on. There's some bad, but there's a lot of good. So I'm going to be talking a lot about that. I know you guys would be happy. Something good's going on in my life. As notifications roll out that I'm live, we should get more and more people in. Hey, Anthony. All right, a minute and a half in, there's the first comment. Yeah, thanks for being here, man. If you have any questions or anything, make sure you drop them down in the comments. Over here on the side, I'm just getting my computer ready so that I can respond to comments as they come in. I'm not sure why it sounds echoey in here today. I don't know why, but can't do a whole lot about that. Once I get switched over here, I'll tell you guys. Jennifer, I just saw you comment. I didn't see what the comment was though, so once I get it switched over on the computer to the chat, I can go ahead and respond. Thank you for whoever liked the video. I appreciate it. We're up to 6 people now. So, drink of the day, as always, I've got my Hydro Flask, which I keep trying to call a clean canteen for some reason. Just Diet Pepsi today, nothing special. I just woke up a couple of hours ago, so I need the caffeine. I was up super late last night because my roommate, which I won't go into details, but that'll all be in the roommate rant part 2 when I move out, which we'll talk about, but that shouldn't be more than about 2 months from now that I'm able to get out of here. All right. So I saw there's a comment from Jennifer, and there was one other comment. I will get to both of those as soon as I can see them here on my side. They just pop up on the screen for a second on the phone. I'm filming on my phone. Let's see. All right. So yeah, guys, originally this stream was actually going to be last week, but I had a hearing on Monday. And generally I do this on the last Sunday of the month, but it seemed like since the last day of the month, well, today is a Sunday, it seemed like that was like a little bit too late. So I originally wanted to have this a week ago, but then I had a hearing the next day for court that I needed to prepare for. So that's why we ended up being today. Thank you. We're up to 8 people. Thank you for everyone who's here. I am just about to start answering questions as they come in. And when we get to a place to pause there, I have some updates to give you guys as well. I am glad that I was finally able to get a video up this month. Super late, but it's up there. And now you guys know when you're not hearing from me, when I'm not making videos, you know what I'm working on in the background. And then, of course, I'll do the 6-month check-in in early July, and then that way you guys know where I'm at. But I'm going to give you a few updates today as well. So here we go. I am still bringing up the chat on my end. I started this process before I even got in the shower, but for some reason my computer's taken super long. All right. Hey, any of you who have these Hydro Flasks, or if if you're some kind of scientist that can explain this to me. Why is it when I put pop in here, in this shaped one, that when I unscrew it, it basically explodes from the carbonation inside? But when I put it in the bigger one, that's just the one that's like twice the size, that has the wide mouth on it, there's like no pressure like that at all. I don't know what's going on. I did find a trick though. As I'm unscrewing it, there's like a little seal right here, and I can put my thumbnail up against that seal and it releases some of the pressure, because otherwise it's like a bomb going off when I unscrew that thing. All right, so Jennifer, I still don't have the comment up here, but I wanted to go ahead. I think you asked me something about how I'm doing. If that's not the case, when it pops up here, I'll answer your actual question. So it's been a very eventful month. I think overall I'm like okay. I think the month has been slightly more positive than it has been negative. There has been a lot that has happened, and I'll get into all that. But basically, not all of it's been bad, and that's a change for my life. I think that it's not like exclusively bad. I have worked so much this month because, as I told you guys in the video I got published this month, my financial goals, that one of my main goals is just to get caught up. So I've been working so much to get money coming in to put toward like overdue and past due things and get them paid off, and then also to save up money to move. I will tell you guys a little bit more about that a little bit later in the stream, but I've made some progress with that. And I'm actually pretty sure that I've found the place that I'm going to move to. Not 100%, because it's still about maybe 2 months off before I can do that. But my roommate is screaming downstairs. I don't know if he's talking to a person or on the phone, but he's like yelling as loud as he can. Okay, we've got the comments here. Oh yeah, okay, so Jennifer says, hey, how are you? So I guess in general, like, I'm okay. I would, oh God. Oh my God. The other roommates are back now. They've been gone for like 2 days and they're screaming now, the old ladies. I told them that I'm doing the live stream. I swear to God, I think because I told them it was at 3 o'clock, that's why they came home right now. Just to do this on purpose. Everything's banging around and screaming and, oh my God, dogs going crazy. I can't concentrate because of them talking. Do you guys hear that? Do you hear how loud that is? They're literally on another floor of the house. Anyway, that's why I don't feel bad that I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'll explain later in the stream. It's about me moving. Okay. So Jennifer, to answer your first question, I guess I'm okay. You know, I'm not where I want to be. This month hasn't been terrible. Adjust the lighting a little bit. And anyway, so Anthony says that doesn't look like normal garage backdrop, so I assume this means you have your own apartment. Well, no, I'm still in the same place. The reason I'm not doing it in the garage was kind of twofold. One, because in the winter it was too cold to do it in the garage. I was doing it in the garage to get away from my roommates because they're so loud. And then I stopped doing it in the garage during the winter because it was just too cold down there. It's not really heated. And then The reason that I'm in the room today is because my old man roommate told me that it was going to be safe because the old women roommates were going to be gone. That I could do it here, because they're so loud, um, that it would be safe to do here. But then, of course, they came back like as soon as it started, and that's why I feel like it's intentional. Um, and Jennifer, I admire your work ethic. Um, well, thank you. I wish I could work a little bit less. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time where I'm working like all the time, and it's just to make like barely enough to pay all my bills every month. Um, I mean, the biggest thing, and this is something it's going to be a common thread, is like the biggest thing that is holding me back is my roommates. And that's just because they're so wasteful of utilities, and um, they're lying about the utilities and charging me way more than what they actually are. And so I have an enormously high living expense per month, which makes it so much more difficult to pay off everything else. And that's why I'm so far behind, is because for the last year and a month, I've been used and taken advantage of by my roommates. They knew I was in a bad situation and took me in for the purpose of exploiting me for money. And that's what has kept me um, so far behind. Um, so I do want to work less. I would like to work just like 40, around 40 hours a week, like a normal person. I can't say how much I work right now, because it does fluctuate, but I generally work 10 or 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. When I need to take an evening off or I have to go run errands or something, I usually just work it around my work. But I'm always working. Um, when I get moved back to Columbus, things will be better. My living expenses will be lower. I won't have people taking advantage of me or being ridiculous. Um, and oh my God, shut up. Um, so basically, I'm sorry, guys, I can't concentrate because every time I start to say something, it's like they're right beside me. Um, so, what was I even saying? I don't know. I'm just going to move on to the next question. So, Jennifer says, what's new since the last live stream? Well, um, I've been working a lot, and I've been able to catch up a little bit on my list of things that I need to pay off. I'm looking at it right now. It's over here. It's all like handwritten, but I'm looking at it. I'm still a few months behind on stuff, but I got nearly everything paid off for April. Not completely, but nearly everything. Um, so, and then I also got a couple of things accomplished. Um, I got a couple of past due from previous months payments of things paid off, including I got my mom's storage unit paid off, which was 3 months past due. So that's current as of now. And the next payment's not due until May 9th. So I might actually get that in on time, which means I don't have a $20 late fee. Now, on top of that, what else is new? Oh, and by the way, guys, my roommate had the audacity a couple days ago to talk about how loud the old lady roommates are, and then just to declare on his own that he doesn't make any noise. He didn't ask me about that or anything. He just, yeah. Um, oh my God. Guys, I don't mean to be so negative. This is just my everyday life. Everyone here is just a goddamn asshole. They're so disrespectful, and I just fucking hate it here. This is the reason that I'm so far behind in life. So what else is new since the last live stream? TaskRabbit has not picked up at all, not a single task. I don't know what's going on with that, so I got to figure out something to do. I'm not going to do DoorDash indefinitely, so we're going to have to figure that out as far as income. What else is new? I did have a hearing with the court last Monday. It's kind of a mixed bag. I won some things and I lost some other things. I did have a good chat with the attorney, her attorney afterward. I don't know if it'll turn into anything, but you know, maybe made some progress with just communicating with the other side, which has been a huge issue. That's really all that's going on. Well, no, I mean, there's a little bit more. I'll tell you guys a bit later. But so there's that as far as the court case. And then the big other thing is, since I made that video that I actually got out this month, which was my financial goals, I told you guys that I'm going to be putting aside $1 per hour worked for, or not per hour worked, $1 per delivery that I do to saving to move out of here. And I have been doing that. And I put it in a high interest savings account. Not that it's going to make that much a difference. For April, I only made 45 cents in interest, but I am going to, okay, so by the end of the month, which is today, I've got one last thing I've got to transfer. But by the end of the month, I'll have $400 saved. So in a month, I've saved $400, which is huge because that account had 21 cents in it. It was my moving fund left over from 2017, which was, I didn't actually move in 2017, but I was trying to, and I had money saved in there for that. That was all that was left in there, and I added the rest, $399 and something. So that is what I've got. I need $1,500 to move into the place that I want to move into. So I'm pretty far from that, but at the same time, I feel like I've saved a pretty large amount. I mean, it's a lot to go from 0 to 400, and I'm really shocked that I was able to save that much that fast. Now, with that being the case, I do have to find a way to do it sooner because I have to get the hell out of this place. But the sooner the better. Before I go down that rabbit hole, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about what did happen this month. Let's see, there was something else that happened. Oh, and well, okay, I guess it's the same topic, but I think I found the place that I'm going to move into. There's a few little details as to like why that's not exactly pinned down, but I think I found the place that I'm going to move. If I get this place, I will do an apartment tour. Like when I move in, I'll do an empty apartment tour of the place, like right when I get the keys. I think you guys will like it. It's super small, but it's also brand new. Like no one's ever lived there, and it's really nice inside. So the trade-off is it's in a bad area, so that's why I can afford it. But you know, just stay inside, I guess. And all right, so I might think of some other things. I'm sorry, I'm like really scatterbrained right now because of the whole roommate thing going on. I don't know if I fully answered your question. There might be some more stuff that comes up later that has happened this month that I didn't mention here. Okay, Jennifer says, I don't hear any noise you're complaining about. And Raula79V says, I have never heard your roommates. So to me, like being in here, it's so loud. Like it's just like they're like right beside me talking at like a normal talking volume. And last night, My roommate came home drunk at like 2:30 in the morning, brought some guy home, and the guy was like obnoxious and drunk and loud, and he was like, I don't know if he kicked the dog or if he stepped on the dog, but he was like calling her names, and there was just like alcohol spilled all over the living room. I don't know what the hell, man. I don't understand. I I don't know, man. Um, I just hate this place. Um, so that's also why I was up so late, because I couldn't go to bed because that was going on. Okay, so Jennifer says, how long could you live on $3,000? That's what I have saved now and no income at the moment. Living rent free though, because I help out at the farm. Thinking about when I will be out of money. Well, I mean, your situation is different because you're living rent free, and I assume that probably means that you don't pay utilities either. So that helps. Plus, with you being in Sweden, I'm going to assume here that there's some sort of like social safety net or some sort of assistance that you could get. That wouldn't be the case here in the US. And of course, we wouldn't have health care because, well, we don't have health care here. Um, so your situation's definitely different. I think with the rent being the biggest issue, you could probably go a lot longer than I could. But your question was, how long could I live on $3,000? I couldn't even live a month on $3,000. Because when we look at my biggest expenses, my rent is $450. Okay, no assistance since I have some money. Um, so I I think my expenses living in like just the cheapest manner possible, I think are over $3,000 a month. Um, I would have to like check that to be sure, but I think so because my big expenses are my rent's $450 a month, and it's just a room, and that's it. I can't use anything else in this house. It's literally just a room. $450 a month plus $30 a month for housekeeping, which is mandatory, plus about $300 a month for my share of the utilities. So we're talking about $780 a month that I'm paying every single month. Um, and that's just rent and utilities. On top of that, I have my student loan payments, which are about $500 a month. They've gone up as interest rates have gone up. They've gone up quite a bit this year. It used to be about 350, 375. Now it's just under 500. Um, and of course, that would be not including any food. Food is ungodly expensive in the US. So several $100s a month in food, whether that be groceries or restaurants. Then I have my cell phone bill, which my cell phone is about $100 a month. It is on the higher end, but it's on the higher end because one, for my job, I have to have unlimited data. So I have to have the highest data package. And also, back in 2020, I financed the phone that I have now. And I did that because there were no fees and no interest. And I knew that I was going into a time when things were going to be tough. And my phone I had at that time, I'd had for 5 years, I think. So while I had the money and was in a place to do it, I wanted to go ahead and get a new phone. Um, but that does add, I think, about $30 a month to my bill, where I'm paying in installments to pay the phone off. Then, of course, I have $65 a month for my storage unit and $75 a month for my mom's storage unit. I have my minimum payments on my credit cards, which combined, that's like $150 to $200. I have my gym membership, which is not, it's not completely necessary, but for the way that I've been working in Columbus, it's kind of necessary. and that's about $27 a month. Um, I'm looking at my list over here to see what else I've got. Oh, and then my car insurance is like $85 a month. Um, so it's really hard. And I mean, to answer your question, um, I could not even live a single month with just $3,000 saved. Anthony Smith says, "How much is the rent?" And I think you posted that when I was talking about the place that I'm looking at living. The place that I'm, the place that I'm looking at, I, I need to call them and find out. There's two different prices I found online, roughly. Um, but I think it's going to end up being almost exactly the same as where I'm at now. The thing is, I'm moving to Columbus where rent is going to be more. Um, so right now, like I said a few minutes ago, I pay $780 a month. It's $450 for the room, $300 for utilities, and then $30 for cleaning fee. So the place I'm moving to, I saw one place it listed the rent at $690, and then I saw another place where it was listed at like $725 or something like that. Um, and I mean, the thing is, I had wanted to reduce my living expenses, right? Because there's no reason for them to be so high except for my roommates and the utility situation. Not to mention, I think I'm paying more than a third of the utilities anyway, because my roommate just lies about the bill amounts. But the thing is, I realized I found some places in Columbus that were less. I found a place that was 525, and I found another one for 625, and one for 750 or 700, something like that. And they are a little bit less, but then I realized, well, once I pay electric and gas, and I pay like $80 a month for internet and all these other things, it's basically going to even out to just about approximately what I pay now. Then the problem with those places is that while they're not like bad, they're just outdated. Like the places that I'm looking at, none of the places I'm looking at have been built within the last 100 years. That's basically what I've said is if it's built within the last 100 years, I can't afford it. Um, but all of them have been renovated at some point since they were originally built. They're just old buildings. But even the renovations were probably done 20, 30, 40 years ago. So they're not like nice by any means, but they're like okay. Now, this other place, the place that I found, the deal with it is, like I said, it's in a really bad neighborhood where the other ones are just in a kind of bad neighborhood. But this place was abandoned and it's surrounded by abandoned buildings. But it's in an area of town within the next 10 years or so is probably going to be fixed up a lot. Like they're doing a lot in that area to try. And what they did is they remodeled this building. I think they just completely gutted it and redid it. And the upstairs is all apartments now. So to answer the question that you said of how much it is, I need to call them to find the exact number because I've found a couple of different prices online, but I think it's around 750 to 775, and I'm paying 780 right now. But that includes all utilities. So I would have no utilities in my name. That also includes internet. It includes valet trash and recycling. It includes parking and um, the only thing it doesn't include is laundry. There is a laundry room in the building, but you do have to pay for it. So that's shared with all the apartments there. But beyond that, yeah, it's pretty much going to be about the same. The difference being that while I'm paying about the same amount, I'm going to have my own place. I mean, I'm not going to have anybody abusing the utilities, but then again, I'm not going to be paying the utilities. so that doesn't matter that much. Um, the space is much smaller, but then again, when you look here, the space is bigger than the room I rent, and I really can't use any other space of the house but this room that I'm in. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than the room, but it's also going to have like the bathroom and the kitchen in that area. Um, the only downside that I can see is that there's no couch. So this place is furnished, which I normally don't like. I normally would not be okay with that, but I'll be the first person to live in there. So it's not like the furniture has been used. It comes with the furniture. The only downside is, and I think this is because the rooms are so small, they're around like 290 to 300 square feet. Um, the there's no couch. Like the only place to sit is the bed or like the chair that comes with the office desk. So not ideal. I'll probably have to figure something out with that. But for a good solid base of operations and just having something that's actually nice that I actually feel good about, I think I'd like that. Oh, thank you. Ash's Internet Stories. Hi, Mark. Always good to see you on your streams. Well, thanks for being here. Yeah, thank you for the super chat. $4.99. I always appreciate those guys, especially where I'm at right now. Like, I'm not hitting that threshold every month to get paid out on YouTube. So, the more super chats that come in, the quicker I get to that threshold. I do appreciate that. I will. Um, I'll try to move through all of the questions here. And Ash, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Anything you want me to answer. So yeah, Anthony, the rent there is about the same as I'm paying here. The difference is I have my own place. I'm not going to have the issues with utilities. Um, and it's in Columbus, which means that a lot of opportunities are there for work and making money that I don't have here. So just imagine here, yes, I can make $150 in DoorDash a day if I drive to Columbus, but I have a 2.5 hour roughly daily commute, and I have the cost, which is basically a full tank of gas to do that. Whereas I'll be paying the same price for living there, but I'll just be able to walk out my door and make that money. So, it's not a huge difference, but it will make things a little bit easier than they are now. And if I can start getting TaskRabbit tasks, it's the same thing. I can make the same money, but just not have the commute. Jennifer says, how much stuff do you have when you move? Does it fit in a car? I had to rent a huge truck now when I moved. So I have a ton of stuff, but I'm not really going to be taking much of any of it. What happened was, okay, zoom back a couple years. July of 2021, I was supposed to go with the girl on a trip to Michigan. And then soon after that, like 2 weeks after we got back, I was supposed to be moved out of my apartment and we were moving to North Carolina. So when I packed for the trip, I put basically everything in a suitcase that was like the main things, like my main clothes and all the main things I needed. And then we didn't end up going on the trip. So I essentially, since that point, have just lived basically out of a suitcase. Because within 2 weeks of that trip, I had to pack up my furniture and put it in storage. And it's been in storage ever since. There were a few things that I moved to Morgantown, not everything, but then that got put back into storage in March of 2022, and it's been there ever since. So that's where all my furniture is. The only thing I have in here, this is an inflatable bed, but it has like a headboard on it. This is also inflatable. So it's an air mattress. This is what I've been sleeping on. Well, since December. Before that, I was sleeping on the floor, but you guys know how my life is. So I've got this air mattress, which of course will deflate. I have this thing I'm sitting on, which is a folding chair. Um, and then I don't even hardly have any clothes here. Like it's literally the bare essentials. I have a TV that was my grandpa's. It's literally like this big. So just stick that in the car with me. I don't even have it hooked up. I'm never here to watch it. And then I have some like big plastic storage bins. And I also have a cooler right here beside me, which is normally in the car, but I've been sleeping in the car in Columbus, so I took it out to save space. This is where I keep all my court documents. I know it's weird to keep them in a cooler, but it's just so they stay all together. Well, they were flying all over the car, so I just put them in here. So basically, to answer the question, I don't have all that much stuff that I'm actually taking with me. Everything that I have in here right now theoretically could probably fit in one carload. Probably it'll be two, especially because downstairs I have a few kitchen utensils, um, and in the basement I have a furniture dolly that I sometimes use for TaskRabbit tasks. That takes up a lot of space in the car. And then I have two gas cans. So I really don't have all that much stuff. Definitely easily within 2 carloads, I'd be able to get everything out of here. And then the furniture's included in the place in Columbus, so I probably won't need anything. Um, but if there's anything that I do need, whenever I go back to Marietta, I can get in my storage unit and get those. Okay, so Jennifer said no assistance since she has some money. I know that's not the way that it works here. Like, you do have to report what money you have when you apply for assistance, but they don't necessarily hold it against you. It kind of depends. They don't make it so that you don't, like, it's not like you have to be penniless in order to get any help. I think I really don't know. Whatever I've ever put on those forms, I've still gotten assistance. So I don't know what the cutoff is on that. And speaking of assistance, I am going to be looking probably this week to see if I could get help from any organizations that would help me to finance like the security deposit for this new place. Because if I could get the security deposit paid, I could probably move next month. So I'm going to be working on that. Jennifer says, I'm thinking I should be able to live at least 3 months on 3,000. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your expenses are. If you're staying for free, like I said earlier, I'm assuming you don't have utilities. Maybe, I don't know if you eat with the family there, or how that works, but I mean, you could save money that way too. Do they actually give you a place to stay, or are you sleeping like in the barn? Jennifer says, when will you move? What's the timeline? Okay. Give me a second, because this might take a little while. Okay, here's the plan. Originally, the plan was I wanted to be gone from here by August, by like the beginning of August. But then I realized that I'm not going to be able to make money over the summer here. My car really is on its last leg. I mean, it's getting me by now, but like I can't afford to put a bunch of more miles on it. And because this is a college town, I can't just do DoorDash here over the summer because no one's here. I won't make enough to live on. So I'm going to have to drive to Columbus every day to work. And of course, that's going to hurt my car more. So originally, it was to be out by the end of the summer, but then I realized I have to be in Columbus in the summer. Like, there's just no way around it. Last fall, I started sleeping in my car on the weekends at a truck stop in Columbus. And I stopped that when it got cold. But starting this past weekend, Friday night, so not last night, but the night before, I did the same thing. It's warm enough now that I can stay the night, make some money in Columbus, and I think that's going to help some. But it's one thing to do it one day a week. It really needs to be every day of the week. Um, I just can't. Yeah, I just can't keep driving back and forth and putting the mileage on my car like that. So what I'm gonna do, the longer I stay here, the more resentful I become of my roommates. I mean, because of the petty arguments they start, because of them scamming me on the utilities, because they're just so loud and inconsiderate and everything that's going on here. Like, just the longer I stay here, the more and more I'm just resentful of them. So I finally just came to a breaking point like last month or the month before, and I'm with realizing that I just cannot afford to put that many miles in my car again. I realized what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move. I mean, my roommate and I had this gentleman's agreement that I would only move out at a time that he could re-rent the room, which means I can only move out at certain times of the year based on this being a college town, and most certainly anybody that he gets in here. What is on my shirt? I don't know what. I think that's wet, but I don't know what that is. Anyway, so what I think is going to happen is I'm just going to leave whenever I have the money saved up rather than waiting. And also part of that is like, I don't even know if I should feel bad about that or not, because my roommate will not give me a straight answer about when he's moving out. Because like, if I move out in July and he moves out in August, then there would have been no point in me staying from July to August anyway. You know, so it's just a real weird situation. There's so many factors to it, and a lot of them I can't get a straight answer about to even make the decision. But what I have decided to do is I've decided to ghost. And morally, I do not feel good about this, but practically and financially, I know it's the right decision. And it's hard for me to choose that option. But the more my roommates do this stuff, the less bad I feel about it. I'm still going to feel somewhat bad for having to compromise my ethics, but I'm struggling with that, choosing to not be exploited and stuff over a promise I made, basically, is what I'm struggling with. So anyway, I took a look at my lease, which looks like it's written by a kindergartner. And what I realized is that he wrote it so poorly that although we are supposed to give a 60-day notice, the way he actually wrote it, I know that was what he meant. He meant that I need to give a 60-day notice to move out. But the way he wrote it is that it just says 60-day notice required for return of security deposit and possible cleaning fees. To explain why that doesn't make sense, what he's trying to say is that there is a 60-day notice required. If you do not provide a 60-day notice, he won't return the security deposit. And on top of taking the security deposit, there could be some additional cleaning fees. That's what he means, but it's very poorly written. And if you take the contract as it's written, what it's saying is that 60-day notice is required in order to get the security deposit back. Well, okay. He already told me I wasn't going to get the security deposit back because he said that he was just going to take the entire thing for the next month's utilities. So it doesn't matter if I stay or not. He's just going to take the whole thing. So why would I put myself through staying here? So I'm just not going to. I'm not even going to tell him I'm moving out because we get in these constant savage arguments here all the time, and he tries to find a way to guilt trip and manipulate more money out of me, and I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm literally going to pay my rent and utilities for a month, whatever month that is, and slowly move my stuff out, whether that's into the new place or into the car. Um, and by the end of the month, I will have my room cleaned up and swept, and then I'll just lay the key on the counter downstairs, and that's it. Um, he can just deal with it, and he can keep the deposit that he was going to keep anyway. And this is the thing that I'm struggling so much with, because I know it's wrong, but I'm also struggling with keeping myself in a position where I'm being taken advantage of. And I think that he's taking advantage of that moral obligation that I feel. So I am going to do this. I just don't feel good about it. I know I'll feel relieved once I'm gone. I just don't feel good about doing it this way. Even though I know it's not the right thing to do, but it's the correct thing to do, if that makes any sense. Anyway, if you guys have ever seen The Good Place, you know that dude, Chidi, that like is like the ethicist or whatever? I'm in one of those dilemmas like he talks about on on that show, where like, you know, there almost isn't a right choice. And I'm really bad at choosing to do the thing that is best and right for me. And then when I do, I feel terrible about myself. So, I don't know. This is something I gotta work through. But that's what's going on. Basically, I'm just gonna fucking move. That's it. And, oh. I just kicked my ring light. Yeah, so I'm just gonna move. And, you know, he'll find out about it, I guess, when he doesn't get rent for on the first of the next month, and then he can figure it out. The fact of the matter is, the other people who live here have support networks that I don't have. If he doesn't get rent from me, he can just call his siblings and they give him money. Yeah, I don't have that. So I can't be the person who is paying for people who are more privileged than me to live their lifestyle. They're just going to have to go ask for money when I leave here, because I can't be put in this position anymore. All right, so I got real behind on comments here, so let me go back here. Oh, so Jennifer, okay, yeah, you were asking when will you move, what's the timeline? Right now, I have about $400 saved. Like I said, I think roughly this place is about $750 a month. I'm going to have to pay a $30 application fee, and then I'm going to have to pay well, assuming I get approved, it's going to be equal to 1 month's rent for the security deposit. So I'm going to have to put that up front. Then, depending on when I move in, that's what's going to determine how much I pay in rent. It'll be prorated, but I'm going to try to move in on the first, roughly the first of the month. So basically, $750 and $750 is $1,500. I need to have saved up $1,500. There is one other thing. In the last 2 months, I've gotten behind on my credit card payment and my student loan payment, and of course they reported it as late, and my credit score dropped over 100 points. I need to get those caught up, and I'm working on that to get my credit score high enough to get this. Now, income-wise, I can qualify, not a problem. Even with my low income right now, they just ask for 3 times the monthly rent. That's the thing, is I make good money. It's just so much of it goes out in expenses for driving around for DoorDash. So I only have to make about $2,200 a month, which is far less than I make in order to qualify. So that's not a problem. My issue is going to be the credit score, because now my credit score is like far too low to get approved. But as I'm catching up my credit card and my student loan, those will start showing again as like paid current, and that'll raise my score again. How much it'll raise it, I don't know. But yeah, so I don't, to answer your question, all of those things they all factor into the timeline of when I can get in there. I don't know. Um, Basically, that's my answer. Um, okay, and then AJ says, "Why do you have a storage locker? You must have paid thousands in storage fees by now. Unless whatever you are storing is really valuable stuff, how can it be worth it?" Well, this is another one of those examples where someone else put me in a position that just totally fucked me. Um, I've told this story so many times on here, but my mom did this. Um, Essentially, way back in 2007, um, my mom was supposed to help me move out of an apartment. She showed up literally like 7 hours late after everybody else who had showed up to help me move had already left. And it was on like a Sunday. And so I hadn't found an apartment yet. We were supposed to load everything up and move an apartment the same day, which is a terrible idea, but this is what my mom's idea was. And then, so basically, I had a U-Haul full of my furniture and all my stuff and nowhere to take it, and I had to take the U-Haul back the next day. Um, and so we got a storage unit, and I put everything in there, and then I started back to school that fall. And for years, I was in college. And so the stuff sat there. A lot of it was furniture. Some of it I was able to use for the different college rentals I had, and some I couldn't. I would switch it out like every time I moved. Um, but basically, what happened was during the times I was off, like over summer, where I had a little bit of time off school, it's boiling hot. Like it's in a metal building sitting in a field. So it's like over 100 degrees inside, and it's just too hot to work in there to try to clean it out and to like maybe move it into a smaller space. And then over winter break, it's just too cold. It like you can't stand to be outside there. Um, so I never over the years really had the opportunity to go through the stuff. And then um, starting in, well, I mean, and I'm going way too deep into this to answer this question, but like basically, I haven't always lived in the area. I've moved away for work. Um, but the stuff that is in there, most of it is not valuable in the sense that it's worth money, but it's valuable in the sense that I can't afford to replace the things like my furniture and stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, but like, it's like maybe it's not worth that much, but as a poor person, I can't afford to just get rid of like a couch because it's taking up space because I can't afford to buy a new one later. Um, so that, and I am the person in the family who has everything important, whether it be the old family pictures from my grandparents and great grandparents. And there's some stuff in there that's further back. I mean, I've got some family like written stuff back to, I mean, I know 1811 is the earliest that I know that's in there. Um, I certainly don't have any place to put that, like in my little room I rent here, and not in the place I'm moving to in Columbus. So basically, I shouldn't have ever had a storage unit in the beginning, but partly because my mom never took any like adult responsibilities of being the person who managed that type of stuff for the family, and it fell to me, um, and also because I just I haven't had enough time off work, and I've been too poor to do anything but pay the monthly fee because I don't have enough time to get down there and take the time off to go through it and try to reduce it into like a smaller um, like a smaller facility. But I'm also not rich enough to have just another facility to store stuff. Like, I can't afford to just rent like a 2 bedroom so that I have 1 bedroom in it to store stuff in. Now, on the other side, I have my mom's storage unit that is now my responsibility, and that is completely her fault. Um, Essentially, my mom, while she was in the nursing home, decided to sell her house after getting me to fight the court for years from selling it. Then she decided to sell it. And she made a deal with the guy who bought it that he would gather up all of her stuff, like this house full of stuff, and move everything to a storage unit for her. And then that became my responsibility, like, because now it's like she gets $50 a month at the nursing home. That's not even enough to pay the storage unit rent. So now it's my responsibility if all of the family heirlooms and all of her stuff and all of this stuff, gets sold off. And to make things worse, like, she won't even go through it. She won't tell me what any of the stuff is. Um, I don't have the time or money to be dealing with this. But that's the thing that you'll see with me is, like, I don't ever put myself in a position where I cause myself expenses. It's other people, like my roommates with the utilities or my mom with the storage units, who just really put me in bad situations. And then once I'm put there, I don't really have the time or the money to get out of them. So, I mean, if you look now, I work 7 days a week just to get by. Going through the storage unit and cleaning it out and liquidating things and that kind of stuff, that is not an option just because I don't have time for that. I I I can't take time off work to do it. So, you know, I guess that's what it boils down to, is that I keep getting other people's bad decisions falling on me, and I end up having to pay for them. So at least with the apartment thing, that's me getting out of that and just basically saying, no, you assholes gotta find your own way to pay your own damn utilities. I also found out that my roommate has not, he's been charging us for electric, but like he charges us what the actual bill would be, but come to find out that he's on some kind of payment plan thing for poor people that like reduces it so that that's not actually what he pays. So he's making money off overcharging us for the utilities. Um, because he only pays 10% of what's actually charged, but he charges us like the full amount. So this is why I don't feel bad about just disappearing one day. All right, TMUSA says, hello, I've never heard you mention your grandpa. Is he still around? Did I mention my grandpa? I don't remember. Did I say something about him earlier? Oh yeah, the TV. No, he's not. So, my dad's parents died before I was born. And my mom's parents were still living until, well, late, about when I was still in college. My grandma died in 2010. And then my grandpa died in 2015, but he was in a nursing home for, I think like 3 years. And he had pretty advanced Alzheimer's, so like the last at least couple years of that, like he wasn't really there. So they bought him this TV, so that he could watch something and just have something to do other than stare at the wall at the nursing home. And then at his funeral, my aunt put it in the car that I drove my mom to the funeral in, because my mom had originally bought it for my grandpa. Um, and I don't have anything new. Like, this is probably at this point a 10-year-old TV, but like it's the newest TV I have. It's the only TV I have that's like, well, it's not flat screen, but it's not the big tube TV. So that's what I use when I move around because it's portable. Um, so yeah, no, um, yeah, it's been, well, next month it'll be 8 years. Um, yeah, since he died. And I really don't have anybody. I've got my mom, my dad, and neither of them will speak to me, and that's my entire family. So, but once again, why won't my parents speak to me? Because both of them, all they want to do is take advantage of me and treat me terribly. And to them, I'm just the worst person in the world because I won't let them do that. So, that's why I'm in the situation I'm at. Jennifer says, haha, no, not the barn. I have an apartment next to the stable. I only have food expenses, insurance to pay, and student loan. So you have food, insurance, and student loan. Is that like your, I don't know how that works outside the US, but is that like health insurance? And you have to pay for that? I thought that was just paid for by taxes, like I guess income taxes. And then student loan. I guess I didn't realize you had that either, because I don't know. I just thought student loans were basically a US thing. Um, Now, with your insurance, do you have to have that? Like I, for almost the entirety of my life, I've never had insurance. I don't have insurance now. But I feel like that's like a very American thing to like not have any health insurance. And if something happens to you, you just die because you can't do anything about it. Um, that's normal here, but I feel like that's not normal for the rest of the world. I'm just wondering because, like, is it an option to not have insurance? Oh, TMUSA, yeah, I can't do that at all. Okay. To read your comment, it says, could you take a cut in pay and find something closer to your current home? What's there for work? Um, I can't take a cut in pay because what I make now doesn't cover my monthly expenses. So there's no way to do that. I don't want to stay under any circumstances in my current home. Um, I, I mean, I'm already sleeping in my car on the weekends, but I'd rather just do that full time. And that is what I'm going to do this summer if it comes to the point that, like, maybe my credit score isn't high enough yet to get that apartment. I'm literally just going to live in my car for the summer rather than staying here. I want out that badly. As far as what I'm living in Athens, Ohio right now. As far as what's here for work, basically nothing. I live in a town. It's hard to say how many people live in Athens because there's like 30,000 undergraduate students plus grad students. And they're here for 2 semesters a year, not here over winter break and not here over summer break. So there's almost no one that lives here. It's like a couple thousand people live here year round. And then there's like probably 50,000 people during the school year. The problem is the only jobs that are here are either like working at a restaurant, um, and even then, a lot of them close after the school year is over. And that would pay like $2 an hour, which is what they pay restaurant workers here. Or it would be, I mean, I could work for the university, but it's really hard to get a job there. And even then, all the university positions are on 1 year contracts. So it's not like if you get a job at the university that you can count on it being a long-term job. Most of the positions that I've seen listed at the university, I can't even apply for. You'll see them on like job boards, but then when you read the job post, it'll either say this is an internal only position, so only current university employees can apply, or it's a student position and only current students can apply, or it'll say that you have to be a member of whatever union they have, which you can't be unless you already work there. Um, um, and I don't know, like there's no way that I can stay here. Um, and I don't want to stay in this housing situation. Like I definitely don't want to find ways to make that happen. I want to find any way to get out of it. Um, Nikita says, "Do you make sure other room is going to be available when you move? Will you already reserve it?" Yeah. So what I'm planning on doing, I'm like 95% going to go to that place I told you guys about. I am going to still look for other options, but I think although none of them have everything I want, this is probably the best option I have. So what I'm going to do is I am going to talk to them. I'm going to tell them the situation. I'm going to apply. So that's the $30 application fee. I'm sure my credit score is going to be too low, but I'm going to tell them that ahead of time and say, hey, here's the situation. I know it's too low. I'm working on this. Can I go ahead and apply now? And put down the security deposit, and then we wait and pull my credit again, a couple months down the road after this is done, and then at that time I can move in. They will be available because they're pretty much brand new. Well, I mean, they are brand new. Nobody's lived there. There's only a few of them rented, and then basically that's what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to put my security deposit down there. I will have already applied, and then it'll just be a matter of when I'm ready to move in. But also, like I just said, I'm planning on probably living in my car for a while. Definitely not ideal, although even with the trade-offs, I think I would rather that than living in the current situation. AJ says, I feel for you, Mark. Your life seems very overwhelming, and I hope you get some breathing room soon. Fingers crossed for you. Yeah, I mean, it is. And when I've looked at like why it is this way, it's just, I think most people have some sort of something to turn to if they're struggling. Like they have parents or siblings or friends or, somebody that would help, even if it's just a couch to stay on or something that would be beneficial. And I just don't have that. And when it comes to family, you know, they're sort of the same way as everyone else. they won't put in any effort whatsoever to help me. Um, it's just they want me to do things that benefit them, but they won't do anything for me. And I don't know how I got just that, like, I don't know how in my life I got pretty much exclusively that type of people that, or like how I got this bad luck of being in a situation where the only people that I have in my life are people who want to take from me and not give to me. But they expect me to, continuously give. Um, and, I mean, I'm just going to say this because I've used this as an example before. Um, but there's like two, with the girl, you guys know the girl, the one I'm sewing. I'm mentioning this because she's a good example of both of these things. Back when we were together for like the the first few years we were together, and she was really sick physically. Um, Her mom took her to all of her doctor's appointments and paid for her insurance, and just was really involved in her health care. And I remember thinking, that's cool that your mom's doing that. Because I knew in my situation, if I was in the same situation as her, where I was in college and I got sick and I couldn't work anymore and I couldn't go to school anymore, literally, I would have told my mom too. But my mom's reaction, like, she would have legitimately been like, that sucks. Like, and she'd mean that. She would recognize, that that was a tough situation, but then literally nothing else. She would not offer any help in any way, and I would just die. Like, that's it. Like, she'd just be like, you're sick, that sucks. And then she would just let me die and not help in any way. And I think that illustrates why my life has been so difficult, is because that's the kind of support system that I have. And it's really only been, I'm 37, I'll be 38 in June. And it's really as I've gotten older, like, I've always known that, like, my parents aren't great, I don't have a good support system, but it's as I've gotten older that I see just how extreme it is. Um, and I think it's just because I get to know other people's situations, and it's when I compare myself to them and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know I was that bad off. Another example, again with the girl, is back in 2021, right? So she had her own apartment. She was working full time, doing all this stuff, and then she got sick, right? And she was in the hospital for weeks. She had me, she had her mom, she had all these people who would pay her rent, her utilities, her car payment. Like, when she went into the hospital, she didn't have anything to worry about. She could just focus on healing. And I was looking at that when that was happening. I was looking at that and I'm like, well, look, her life just completely imploded. And her mom was just like, yeah, just come live with me for free. No rent, no utilities. I'll pay for your food, like, everything. And this is, again, one of those situations where if I were to tell my parents that something like that happened to me, they'd just be like, so? And like, that would be it. And so this is what I'm talking about and I know that where I'm at in life right now would be much different. I would be in a much better place if I had not had to fight for just bare survival my entire life. If I'd had a support structure, if I hadn't spent all of my time working, if I hadn't spent all of my time just trying to get enough food to eat, I could have accomplished a lot more in my life by this point. But it's just to an unbelievable degree, to like a far outlier on a bell curve of how little support you can have in your life. I'm out there as that outlier. So I'm not really complaining about that. I'm just pointing out that that's the way things are. Um, but yeah, thank you, AJ. I do know that I know that's the way it is, and I do hope I get some breathing room. I feel like I will a little bit when I get my own place. And then by being up in Columbus, I think it'll be a little bit easier to make money and to make it a little bit quicker. Um, that will help me out a lot, I think. Um, so, yeah. And then, so then Jennifer says the student loan is $100 per month I have to pay. It is personal insurance for home, and it is mandatory to have. When you say for home, is this health insurance or homeowner's insurance? Personal insurance for home. I don't know what that is, but oh, sorry, guys, my roommates are yelling again. Um, it's personal insurance for home and it's mandatory to have. So this was my problem. This is no longer an issue because it was changed, but like I don't remember what year it was, but the when Obamacare became law, you were required. Um, like so that was the thing about it is like you can be all for socialized medicine, but then like it was like forced, and it's like okay, but like I am in a position where I can't afford to have this, and because I was having a hard time finding jobs, a lot of times I didn't have health insurance even when it was required, or I had a job where it didn't provide it. And so I wasn't making enough money to pay for it on my own. And every year I would pay a tax penalty. I know the last year it was over $700 that I had taken away from my tax refund because I didn't have health insurance. And that was when it was required. I'm like, so I'm screwed over because I'm poor, I don't have health insurance, and then on top of that, because I couldn't afford the health insurance, then I have to pay a fee. And they did do away with that. I think 2018 was the last year that they did that. Um, but yeah, there was like that was just such a rough thing because it just seemed so unfair to poor people that like, oh, you're so poor you can't afford insurance. Okay, well now you have to pay a $700 a year fine for not having it. AJ says, do you think your parents have some mental health issues to cause them to be this way toward you? I would lean toward no. See, the thing, okay. So, like, generally, if I'm suspecting someone has some sort of mental health issue, I can generally try, like, kind of figure out what it is, or at least, like, the cluster of disorders that it might be. With both of my parents, I just don't have any idea. I'm open to the idea that there are some mental illnesses there, but there's nothing where like the criteria or like there's nothing where the symptoms match up with any criteria of any disorders. Um, I think it's more likely that they just suck. I mean, I think that they're both just selfish people. And I think for my mom, especially, my thought, and I'm not sure I'm right about this, but uh, um, I think that my mom had me because she was one of those mothers who thought that having a kid would make her happy. So, that's not something like it basically, it was for her, is what I'm saying. Um, Now, I don't even have any way to begin to explain my dad's issues. I don't think I mean, if it is a mental health thing, again, it doesn't seem to match up with any kind of disorder. He just, you know, doesn't act right. But like, with my mom, the only thing I can kind of figure out about her is that when my mom was at least 32 years old, she was still living at home, like with her parents. And she was working because her parents wouldn't let her live at home unless she was working. Um, that was around the time she met my dad, and I know that she said that she like thought my dad was like promising or something because at the time he had money and he was about to get his PhD, so he had a good potential of getting a good job. I don't even think my mom liked my dad, to be honest. Um, I think maybe she just wanted a relationship because she failed at relationships before. I don't know. But this thing of like being that old, still living at home, not being in a relationship, and I suppose having a kid was part of that too. I think my mom just thought she was so far behind in life. And so that might be part of why she went with my dad, even though she seems to not be able to stand him, um, just because of what he seemed to be able to provide for her. And then on top of that, it seems like the decision to have me was just based on her wanting to have a kid. But there was like basically no follow up. There was no like I don't know. It was almost like she was resentful of me my whole life. But she certainly didn't want to put in any effort. Um, like effort of like raising or caring for me. Um, so yeah, that's an issue. And I could go a lot more deep on this, guys, but on my dad, I just have no clue, and on my mom, it doesn't seem like a mental disorder. It just seems like she wanted a husband and she wanted a kid for the sheer fact that she felt she was behind in life, and then once she got it, well, I don't know about the marriage, but at least with the kid, she just basically put no effort into to caring for it at all. Um, so that's the best I can figure out. Um, so the popcorn family says, and I read this when it popped up. In retrospect, do you now see what we've been saying in the beginning about the girl? How she was only using you and only gave you time when it was convenient for her. No, I don't. Um, the it's hard for me to think or like conceptualize that she was just using me. Based on the fact that we were together for 8.5 years, um, I can't I can't make it make sense that that was using me. Especially for the longest time, she didn't get anything out of that. Like you can say, like, yeah, the last year we were together, like, yes, I paid a bunch of stuff for her. I bought her food and bought her alcohol, and I paid her bills when she lost her job. But that, if you looked at that on its own, I could see where you could be like, yeah, she was using you. I don't know if she was for sure, but I could see how it could be seen that way. But to put so much effort in for so many years prior to that, um, and really get nothing out of it, I mean, other than me responding to her, I can't make that make sense as far as like trying to see it as her um, using me. And as far as her only giving me, sorry, my roommates are yelling again. And when I say yelling, I don't mean talking loudly. Like they're actually, I can't tell if two or three of them are down there, but they're all yelling. So the other thing was how it only gave you time when it was convenient for her. There might be some truth in that, that she only gave me time when it was convenient for her, but I guess from your question, I'm not seeing that from what people have told me. Um, I guess I'm seeing it from, like, I do see that she had been pretty inflexible, like when I needed something, um, that it was hard to get her to change her plans to accommodate me. Um, but I don't necessarily see that from what like other people have been saying about it. How she was only using you and only gave you time when it was convenient for her. Yeah. So the biggest problem with realizing anything about what happened with her is that I just really don't know. There's so much that I don't know about the story of what happened, the story of why things ended or how they even ended. And I will be finding those things out. And I think that that's going to help me. I mean, maybe it will lead me to being able to see, um, like, depending on what she says. Um, but with the lawsuit, we are moving forward and I'm going to start doing depositions soon. And that's where I'm going to sit down individually with each person that's going to be a witness. And for the first time, I get to ask them questions and they have to answer under oath. I think as far as the majority of everything involved in all of this, where I'm just like, I don't know. I'm going to start getting some answers. I'm going to fill in a lot of the blanks. And I think that that's going to help to clarify what exactly happened. And maybe that is what I'll find out. Like, maybe I'll find out that for 9 years, like, none of this was real. I, based on what I know now, I think that would be extraordinarily hard for that to be proven based on things that did happen that sort of don't match up with that. But it's hard to see anything, I guess, when you have so much missing information. And oh, okay. I see you're giving me some more examples. Okay, so I see TMUSA and Jennifer. You guys ask questions. The popcorn family just continued based on what I was just talking about. So I'm going to finish that and then I'll hop back on your questions. Okay, so popcorn family on the second part here. This gives me more of an idea of what you're talking about. Okay. So you say you would plan cute dates, which she canceled or crapped on. You never actually referred to her as a girlfriend. You literally rearranged your life to include her and she would dip out. Yeah, so I think this goes along with the only gave you time when it was convenient for her statement that you made. So with the date idea, I think I understand what was going on there. And I'm not saying that there wasn't, just a moment of being an asshole that led to her canceling, okay? But I don't think that was the main part of it. I actually, I'm trying to think if there's a way that I can put this in the video because this is like something that's going to come up in court. So like there's a limit to how much I can discuss it. But I do think that I understand actually that part of it, at least, and why that would happen. See, it wasn't just that I was coming up with date ideas. She was coming up with them too. Um, it was a really weird dynamic because there for a while, like, she basically wasn't letting me see her, but yet she was coming up with ideas. And some of them were like general stuff, like, she wanted to go bowling or something. Um, but like she planned other more elaborate things too. But at the same time that she was planning these date ideas, then I'd try to set like a date for it to happen. And she either would like stop talking to me on that day until after the time we were supposed to go, or she would, I don't know. And in my mind, I'm like, this was your idea. Like, you're the one that said you wanted to start dating again. You're the one that suggested this date idea. Um, so I don't know what that was about, but I, well, that's not true. I think I do know what that's about, but it's not something I feel like I can get into here because it's something I have to discuss in court. And it's also, there's not like an alternative way to describe it without just like giving it away. Um, Now, I don't remember. Um, I don't remember necessarily her ever like hating any of my ideas. Um, the only one was like, you guys remember like we were gonna go play on that playground. It used to be called the Incredible Playground, and it was behind her elementary school in our town. They've actually kind of torn that one out and they put a different one there. But back in the 90s, I think every town had like one of these enormous like wooden playgrounds, and ours was called the Incredible Playground. And anyway, it was to do that, and it was to do this like slow dance thing. It was a long story, but I'd planned all that. Um, and the thing is, it wasn't the idea of it that she crapped on. It was she she asked me why we weren't dating, and then I told her that I wanted to take her on like a proper date. And she agreed to it, but then a few days later, she seemed annoyed by the fact that I wanted to go on a date. And then she was like saying like, I don't date, I hang out. I was like, okay, but then why did you ask me to take you on a date then? So it was stuff like that. It wasn't necessarily that she didn't like the idea of what we were doing. It was just one day she would want to go on a formal date, but then by the time it would get to the day, she'd changed her mind and she was annoyed. And all she wanted me to do is just come over to the apartment. So like, I don't, it, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Um, so when you say I never actually referred to her as a girlfriend, I did in some of the videos. If you look back at the older budget review videos, there is a category called stuff for girlfriend. So like when I bought her dinner or something, it would get categorized there. Um, I did kind of, I did usually refer to her as the girl. But I think the reason that I was doing that was because I started referring to her as the girl on this channel. Um, Back before we were like official again in early 2020 when we were seeing each other, I was, I was saying to identify her because I didn't feel like I could call her girlfriend yet. I was calling her the girl. Um, and then I just continued to do that. Like even though clearly like she had become girlfriend again, um, I just kept referring to her as the girl, and I still do. I feel like if I say the girl, you guys know who I'm talking about. Um, so now in person, like I did call her my girlfriend, and to like I guess people like in real life outside the internet, that's how I would describe her. And sometimes we were official and sometimes we weren't, but I mean, there's not really a closer word to what she was. Um, so I feel like it was pretty accurate to call her that. And then you said you literally rearranged your life to include her and she would dip out. And that is true. Um, that again kind of goes to something that I think I've figured out, which has to be presented in court. I don't, I'm not saying there wasn't any like ill will there, but I don't necessarily know that it's 100% as intentional as it looked on the surface. Um, there was more to it than what it appears. Um, I mean, it still sucked for me that that happened, and it happened repeatedly. But I don't know 100% if she was completely in control of that all the time. Um, it's kind of tough because I want to tell you guys, because if I could just say what it is that I think is happening, I think it fully explains it. But it's something I'm going to have to talk about really in court, or at least talk about in court first, and maybe actually after that happens, maybe I can talk about it on here because it's nothing terrible. It's nothing like if she saw it, she'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you would say that." Um, it's just I don't want to lay all my cards out. I know she watches this. I'm pretty sure her attorney watches these videos because of something he said to me on Monday. Um, he didn't say there was anything wrong with anything I'd posted, but he kind of slipped up and said something and makes me think that he does. So I don't want to like lay my strategy out and say this is what it is. Um, okay, and then the last question here. I mean, you guys can still ask more. It's just the last one that's on here. AJ says, "Are you allowed to record the depositions or any of the court stuff? Would make an interesting YouTube video." So I personally can't. Um, so I personally cannot record it, but it is recorded. The court itself has microphones, and there is a court reporter, and there is a what was I going to say? Oh, and there's a camera somewhere. There's at least one camera. So there will be a video of it. Um, the problem is I wouldn't be allowed to put that up here. Um, I wouldn't want to do that anyway because that would just upset her. But because it's going to have her name, it's going to have a lot of information that she would consider personal. Um, I'm not going to do that to her. But now the depositions, because I was talking about like the hearings and the trial, the depositions will be recorded. The way the deposition works is you have a court reporter there. The court reporter swears in the person who's being deposed, and then um, generally they are going to write everything down, right? And they make the record of it. But more recently, they have started to also record them with video. Some of mine I'm going to record with video and some not. The important ones I will, just because I want to make sure that the ones that I think are going to be really contentious, I want them to be on video. Um, Ones where I'm just sitting down with a random person and is like, hey, like your name was on this form, like what do you know about this? Um, and the whole deposition might be half an hour long. I'm not going to worry about that. But there are a few people that I have to call in where I very much want to have them under oath and on video answering these questions. But I don't think there's any circumstance under which I can post that publicly, even though there's not like technically any court order or anything against it. That wouldn't be right for me to put her information out there. And even if somehow it was entirely redacted, she would, even if I blurred her out in every frame, like um yeah, she would be really upset. She'd feel like I did something wrong by doing that. Okay, guys, I am gonna go. I gotta go get a refill. I'll be gone a couple minutes. I see there's two more comments. So I will get back to you. The two new comments, I'll get back to you when I get back, and then I will. And then in the meantime, if you guys have anything else you want to say, go ahead and post it, and I'll get to it when I get back. Okay, I'm back. There's still 24 people, so thank you guys for sticking with me. I had to go downstairs. My roommates are doing a bunch of weird stuff, so. Okay, got a couple new comments. Okay, so here we go. AJ, I just answered your question. Ro, good to see you here. I don't think I've seen you on a stream before, so. How much do you have saved up? Maybe try living your car or something. I've been seeing a lot of people doing it. I heard this young girl said she got a $30,000 net worth at 23. Must be nice. Yeah. Yeah, that would be nice. I guess you could say I've had a negative net worth since 2004, 2005, whenever I took out my first student loan. And it's never been above negative since. So, okay, so Ro, you said, how much do you have saved up? Oh, Jennifer, I didn't realize that. Oh, you're right. I said I will get back to that. Let me finish answering Ro's question, and then I'll back up. I forgot, I said that I was going to skip those 2 questions and then come back to them, and I forgot to come back. What is going on with the lighting here? Okay, so basically, I have about $400 saved up. And the only reason I have not been able to save. I only started saving at the beginning of this month, and I was able to save 400, but I need to save 1,500 in order to get into that apartment. Now, I'm not living in my car, but I am sleeping in my car on the weekends. I have a safe place that I can sleep in the Columbus metro area. And then I have a gym membership, so I can go to the gym in the morning and I can do that. I mean, meaning I can I can shower there, was the biggest thing really. So, I mean, you're right. Maybe I should do that to save money for a little while, at least until I can get into one of these apartments. Now, there might be an issue in the summer where it's just going to get like too hot to sleep in the car, but you know, we'll see. Let's see. Okay. Oh, sorry. I almost forgot to go back again, Jennifer. Okay, so there were 2 comments I skipped over earlier. TMUSA says, from what you've said about your mom, sounds like a classic narcissist. You know, a lot of people have said that about my mom, and I wish it was that clear for me to see. I don't know why it's not. I mean, really, probably the same could be said about my dad. My roommate absolutely is. But I just, for some reason, it's so hard for me to see these things in others. I can look at a vignette for abnormal psychology, and I can look at the criteria and I can diagnose people. But what I can't seem to do is look at things in real life and realize that they are their criteria, and then subsequently use the criteria to make a diagnosis. I can do the latter half. I just can't do the first half. I don't know why. And then, okay, so Jennifer, how much do you spend on food, drink, takeout each month? Wow. Okay, so this is a really hard question to answer because, like, I know it's a lot. It is like, it's several $100s every month. But it's so hard to answer because it varies so much depending on what's going on in my life. Whoa. Wow. Okay, Nikita, thank you. So I'm gonna tap this. Okay, so Nikita, thank you. That was 10 euros for a super chat. Thank you for that. And I do see your comment down below about the storage units. I'm going to get to that. I'll definitely answer your question. Thank you so much for the super chat. I like I said earlier, anything that you guys donate, it helps me get to that minimum $100 threshold for the month. And then that means that I can look forward to the next month getting the payout, and that $100 helps, whether it goes to gas money or whether it goes to putting it toward getting a little more caught up on debt and stuff. $100 to me makes a huge difference. So I appreciate the 10 euros. That is awesome. I'm not sure what that translates to in USD, but it does all that stuff automatically. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. I know you're usually on the streams. Okay, so Jennifer says, yeah, how much do you spend on food, drink, takeout each month? It varies so much. So if I'm in Athens, which is where I'm living, and it's this small town, it's going to be less than in any other scenario. I am somewhat limited in my kitchen use here just because of the house setup. So that's another thing to look forward to when I get to Columbus, is that I'm going to have, of course, my roommates are going to start slamming the doors. So what you're going to hear is so what's going to happen is when I get to Columbus, I will be able to vary my diet a little bit, and I'm going to be able to eat home a little bit more. It especially helps that the neighborhood that I'm moving into doesn't really have any gas stations and doesn't really have any fast food. You have to like really intentionally drive out of the neighborhood to get that. Now, living here in Athens, I want to say that I generally get once a day, I'll get some kind of food out. I do try to eat on the cheaper end of things, but as you guys know, the prices of everything has just raised so much recently that it's really hard to do that. It's hard to keep any kind of meal, even fast food, under like $10 a meal. So I've kind of in my mind built this like list of cheaper places to eat. That said, groceries, I have no idea. Back when I was categorizing transactions and doing the monthly budget reviews, I could have looked back and I could tell you, but I haven't done that for like a year now. I intend to go back and do it. I have so much going on right now, I can't. But with all that said, what I would say, all told, I think I'm spending over $500 a month on food. TMUSA, I see your comment about Super Chat versus PayPal. Honestly, here's the deal. I don't mind how you guys want to support the channel. PayPal, the way that works is I get it basically today. And there is a fee for me to take it out, but it's a fairly small fee. With Super Chat, I get it. It would be the next time the pay comes out. So it could be next month, or it could be a couple months down the road. And YouTube does take a percentage of it. It's a higher percentage than PayPal. So I just leave it up to you guys how you want to donate. You can either do PayPal, which is in the description below this video, or you can do Super Chat. It's totally up to you guys how you want to do that. Oh, okay, Jennifer, I'm at your food question. I would say I spend more than $500 a month. And I don't know if that's a very good estimate. I would say it's at a minimum that. And that's a combination of groceries and eating out. And did you say, yeah, food, drink, takeout. Yeah. Really, drink for me, the only thing is just getting Diet Pepsi. Or like getting some sort of caffeine at a gas station when I'm driving around. I don't drink alcohol, so that's at least one expense I don't have. I know it's so much, but it's also hard for me to even give an idea of how much I spend on food, because I'm more focused on, okay, how much money do I have in my accounts? How much do I have coming out soon? How much do I have that I can eat on today? And where can I go to get fairly cheap food? And I think about it like that rather than like monthly how much I'm spending. Because when I'm in Columbus, I have to eat out more because I'm on the road and I don't have access to something. So, like, for example, if I'm in Columbus and I'm working up there, I'm more than likely going to pay $10 or $15 for a meal rather than here in Athens where I have the opportunity to go to the grocery store and buy a TV dinner that might be $4 or $5. So being able to live and work in the same town where I can go home, that's going to help me a lot as far as um, saving on food. I don't know if that's like a real answer to your question. I tried, but my other thing that I can't really account for is how much food prices have gone up since last year. Um, so, I mean, I would say like whatever I'm spending this year is probably double, roughly, what I was spending last year. Um, my income hasn't gone up. In fact, it's gone down. But the cost of everything has gone up. Right now, where I live, gas is $3.75 a gallon, and yeah, it's not really a great situation. All right, so let me get caught up here. That was Jennifer's question. Oh, where were they? Oh, Alan. Hi, just joined. Hey, Alan. Good to see you on the stream. Nikita says, where are your storage units located? Are you not able to sort it out, putting a couple of hours every week? That would be ideal. So that actually, that is an idea that I could possibly do, yeah. So I have two storage units. I have one in Marietta, Ohio, which is where I went to college. That was the one I was telling you guys where like we loaded up my apartment and then I didn't have anywhere to put the stuff because my mom came like 7 hours late and everything was closed. That's where it ended up going. And so it's still in my college town. That is about an hour drive from here. And it's not the worst place to go because I do check my P.O. box that is for this channel, but I also use it for court. That's where all my documents for court are mailed. So generally every week I drive down to Parkersburg, which is about 45 minutes from here, and I check that for any court documents. I could drive, it's about another 15 minutes to Marietta, which is where my storage unit is. And I suppose I could start doing that. It's been too cold up until lately, but I suppose that I could, when I take my day and I go down there to check the box, I suppose I could spend a couple hours in the storage unit. The fact of the matter is, in 2021, I had the thing about 75% of the way sorted out. I literally took almost everything out of it. I bought shelving from Target, like the metal baker's racks, and I organized everything on those shelves. The problem is when I loaded everything up to move in August of 2021, and then she didn't move with me, all of the furniture got stuck in there. And so I basically have a storage unit that the back wall and the side walls are all organized. I still need to go through each individual thing, but it's like up off the floor and it's like somewhat organized. But then the entire middle section is just packed full of furniture because I don't have my furniture here. You know, in a normal situation, you would move your furniture with you, and so it wouldn't be blocking the way of all the other stuff you need to get to. So I don't know. There's like a lot that goes into it, but I do like that idea. So I'm gonna try to keep in mind that uh, when I go check the mail, I'll go work on the storage unit for like a couple of hours going through stuff. And it's going to be an extraordinarily slow process, but that's a way that I can at least make some progress on that. Alan says, I think if you ever need a place to live, you could try house hacking too. It is another option, and if you have connections around an area, you could house hack and build equity on that property. So help me out here with your thought process, because I I do think that house hacking is a decent option. My problem would be just that I don't own a house or like an apartment complex to be able to do that. Um, you say if you have connections around an area. Um, I mean, I guess I don't in Columbus, but depending on what you mean, I might be able to build that. Oh, I see what you're saying. Save enough for down payment. Um, that's a little bit like definitely where I'm at right now. I need to get my income stabilized before I do that. Um, now I did apply for um, I did apply for Habitat for Humanity for a house. I don't know if I'll get approved, but I at least put the application down because they were advertising for that. Um, yeah, Alan, I mean, I'm not totally opposed to that if I can find the right people. Um, I'm also not totally opposed to like renting some of the rooms out on Airbnb until I get people who would stay monthly, just to get the rooms occupied. Um, the house thing is going to be a big commitment, especially in Columbus, because that's a real man. Columbus is expensive. Um, and I do eventually want to house hack, but I was thinking more in the sense of like buying an apartment complex with 4 units, living in one, and then renting out the other three, which would cover cover me for the mortgage payment, that kind of thing. But again, I got to fix my credit first. And like you said, I'll have to have enough money to put a down payment on something that big. Now, what I could do is after I have more of my income coming in online and I'm a little less reliant on the area I'm living in, I could move to a smaller area where the property itself would be less expensive, and then I could put like a smaller down payment down. That's just it's a few years out. Okay, Jennifer, I answered your food question now. Then we got Nikita's super chat. TMUSA. Oh, I answered that. So that's the super chat versus PayPal question. New email. Have you considered using your petroleum engineering degree? I remember you said that's where some of your debt came from. Well, I don't actually have a degree in petroleum engineering. Um, Basically, what happened was I graduated with my first bachelor's. I went out and I worked for a year, realized that was not sustainable and I was not going to be able to live on what I was able to make out in the real world. So I went back to my same college and I started my petroleum engineering degree in the fall of 2013. The problem being, that was also when I started having problems with a girl. And it didn't help So it was like emotionally, I was like thrown off. I was also working full time, trying to go to school as well, and that was difficult. I was taking some difficult math classes that I was struggling with, and I couldn't go to the free tutoring because I worked full time. And then mid semester, I my car blew up. It like it was a disaster. I took a medical leave for 5 years that I could hold my place in the program, but by the time that 5 years was over, I was way past any desire to go back to school. Um, so I really just did the one semester. What they had done is, because I went to the same school I graduated from, I only had to take the Petro classes. I mean, I still had to take math and stuff, but only the classes that were required for the degree and no gen eds. Um, but like that was like a long time ago. So, um, and I know mentally after everything I've been through the last few years, I have no desire to go back to school. But even if I did, I'm just like mentally and emotionally, I don't think I'm able to handle it anymore. Alan says at new email, it would be possible, but there would be a gap of employment on the resume, which is bad. And then new email says, I didn't think of that, but he could easily say 3 of those gap years were due to COVID. Well, that's true. And it would be somewhat legitimate excuse. See, that's actually what that's how I kind of tell people about like how I ended up out of the tech field for so long, because I got laid off in 2020. It wasn't for COVID. I got laid off in January because my job was outsourced. But then COVID hit a month or two later. So when you say, oh, well, I got laid off in 2020, everyone just assumes it was for COVID. Um, and and then I can just be honest and say, like, I've been applying, but I haven't been able to get in anywhere. Max says going anywhere this summer. I don't know. I'm working all the time. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so around the end of May for Memorial Day, I always go on this like little day trip. I always go on this little day trip, and it's out to middle of nowhere, West Virginia, where some of my family cemeteries are. I'm the only one that can, that's like an age that's still able to get out there. And I didn't get to go last year, just with everything going on. I didn't get to go. I want to go this year. Normally it's Memorial Day weekend. If I'm still doing DoorDash, I'll probably be pretty busy that weekend. So maybe I'll go the week after. So between Memorial Day and my birthday, I guess, my car will make it. Now, my car leaks every fluid possible, but as long as I top everything up beforehand, it'll be fine. And I'll drive out there. It's down like dirt roads and stuff. But I'll drive out there, and then just getting out, and you're away from everything. There's no cell phone service. You can't even hear roads or cars, planes, anything in the distance. There's just nothing. That's always been pretty relaxing for me. And even though I will be out there probably no longer than an hour after all that drive, I think that's always had a positive impact on my mental health. I'm not sure about traveling anywhere else. Again, with how much I'm working and also doing stuff for the lawsuit. The only other thing that I can think of is last year, I did take one day around my birthday and I went hiking at Hocking Hills State Park. I'm not sure I actually got to enjoy it much because my mind was so preoccupied with stuff going on that I was upset about, but I'm glad I at least tried. I don't have any place in mind really to go, but I just bought new shoes. I don't want to get them messy walking on trails. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to go to like Walmart and buy just like, I don't know how much they cost, but like a really cheap off-brand pair of tennis shoes that like I can just get muddy and dirty and I don't care. Um, and then that way I can feel like I can go on a hike. Um, I think that's probably the best plan for that. So I don't know. I mean, if I go and do anything, most likely it's probably going to be to go hiking somewhere. Um, I'm just going to have to figure out where exactly and when exactly I'll be able to do that. Max says thoughts on Russia and China combining their currency. I didn't know they were doing that. Yeah, I don't really know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard anything about it, but thinking about it, I don't think I really have any thoughts about it either. I just don't know enough about that kind of stuff to have an opinion on it. Alan Lynn says save enough for a down payment and then look for anyone interested in the area to live in a decent house and is willing to pay their rent. Stampitis? DP says Alan, most landlords don't allow subleasing. The one here does. That's how I can sublease. Uh, Alan Lynn says always worth a try, and if you know people. Okay, yeah. So I mean, like I said, that's gonna be, if I do something like that, it's gonna be like, years down the road. Alan Lynn says, what aspect of tech did you work in? Well, I've worked for several tech companies. First tech company I worked for was a super small one that no one's ever heard of. So I won't even count that, but I worked for Lyft, and I started as a driver, but then they hired me into the company. But I worked in recruitment. I recruited drivers. My title was senior executive offline recruiter. So I was kind of the face of the company in the sense that like most drivers sign up online, but I was actually like out on the streets um, recruiting drivers, and then and that was my first remote job that I ever had. And then from there, I got hired at Candid, which is teleorthodontia. And originally, we didn't have job titles. It was a super small tech startup, but I did at some point every aspect of the business. Um, but then once we expanded, they started creating divisions, and I was in something called Bike Club. Essentially, it was sort of like graphic design and photo editing. What I did is I would either get pictures from our studio, which was where they used an intraoral scanner, and I would have to create these dioramas to send to the orthodontists of the insides of people's mouths. Or if they were ones that patients took themselves, I had to edit the photos enough to make them usable, hopefully. Um, and then do the same thing as before. A lot of times, more often than not, the patient's photos were terrible, and so we would have to contact them and get them to retake them. But if they were reasonably good, I would do as much editing as I could to try to send them to the orthodontist. So that was what Bike Club was. Later on, I also got put on refinements, which meant that after people had completed their treatment, if they weren't happy with it and they wanted more movement of their teeth, we could create a second treatment plan for them. And so I had to make a new diagram. We used Google Slides, but it was like the original and then a secondary one, and then I would send that off to the orthodontist. And I would also order retainers through the manufacturer's website. And then in the last, I don't know, like the last month I was at the company before I got laid off, I moved into active care, which is less tech, really. The Yeah, it was less tech and more patient care. Um, so I was doing less on the computer. Well, I mean, I guess I was still doing it on the computer because I was doing video conferencing, but I was video conferencing with the clients, and I was the go-between between the orthodontist and the client and the patient. And then that way, like, I really, as far as your question about like what type of tech, it wasn't really tech at that point. I worked at a tech startup, but I really was just an intermediary between the patient and the doctor. Okay, so now as far as after that, I've applied for all different things. I've been insurance startups, pet insurance startups, psychedelics for mental health, those sort of companies. I've tried to get into any kind of startup really, and a lot of times I get interviews, but I don't ever get hired. Um, all right, Jennifer says saying good night. Bye, y'all. Have a good rest of the day. It's got to be, well, it's late, where she is. So, Alan Lynn says, have you ever tried freelancing with these skills on Fiverr? I haven't because like I really don't have the skills. There was never any training at Candid. It was sort of like just because we're younger. I mean, I was probably older than. I guess I was probably on the older end of people that worked there, but like even then, I'm like younger relatively, so that like I know, just inherently, I know how to operate like a computer and a cell phone, and I can do basic photo editing. That's all I did. Like honestly, like cropping, rotating pictures, maybe messing with the lighting a little bit, like to make it a little more visible. But that's not really something that somebody would pay for just because my skills there are so limited. And I mean, even the thumbnails that I use for the channel, generally, I'm using an app that helps generate that. Oh, thank you. TMUSA, $19.99. Thank you for the super chat. So that actually, so we've had a mixture of currency today, but that puts us, that's the third super chat today. I think we've had 2 that were in USD and 1 that was in euros. And it looks like the running total when put into USD is $36.01 as far as super chats. So thank you again for that. That literally gets me, well, a little over 1/3 of the way to the payment threshold of $100 a month. And you know, eventually what's going to happen is when I'm consistently making $100 a month every month on the channel, that's just something that I know that I'll have that income coming in. And that'll be a big help because, you know, if you think about, if you have this reliable source of income and then, you know, your rent, for example, is like $750 a month, eventually I build that up to $750 and it's like, how much easier would my life be if I just had my rent taken care of every month, right? So I don't know. That's the plan, very long term. And oh yeah, AJ said just broke the first rule of Bike Club. Don't talk about Bike Club. So I don't have any way to show you guys pictures on streams. I have pictures. We had like neon signs with like Bike Club stuff, and but there were like different sections of the company, and they all had names like that. Um, like there was Orthopod, which sounds like some sort of creature, but Orthopod was the people in the group of people who um, would work directly with the orthodontists as far as like the operations of the company. Um, and there were normal things like support and stuff too, but um, until they got really strict about like making things professional, we used to have stuff like that. We also used to have a Slack channel called Tooth Bloops, and it was either really dumb stuff that customers said, or like awful treatment plans that the AI generated, or like I don't know. It was like a meme channel basically. Um, so I don't know if you guys know what Slack is. It's like an interoffice messaging platform that a lot of tech companies use. It's like a cool version of Microsoft Teams. It was like when Microsoft developed Teams, it was like they took Slack, they took the idea of it and just tried to make it as boring as possible. Um, and yeah, so Alan Lynn says no NDA. The thing is, okay, I have an NDA, but it's specific in what it says. Um, in order to get severance pay, I had to sign an NDA, but it's not in the sense that I can't talk about my time there. Um, it's in the sense that I can't. It's not a non-disclosure agreement. It's a non. Oh God, what do they call it? Non-disparagement agreement. So I'm allowed to talk about being there. I'm just not allowed to say bad things about it. Now I did have years ago. Let's see, when was that? Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I can't talk about them. It hasn't been enough years. Um, so I won't say anything. Um, but yeah, Alan says, yeah, you Slack before. It's like Discord, but for work. Yeah, I mean, I think this might have been before Discord was around. I don't use Discord all that much. I'm like one YouTube thing that I'm involved in has a Discord, and that's why I have the app. I literally don't use it for anything else, and I check it like once or twice a year. Um, but but yeah, I really liked Slack, and I'm like, damn, I miss working somewhere that uses it. Um, so yeah. So anyway, guys, I think I've pretty much told you guys most stuff that's going on with the lawsuit. We had a hearing. Like I said, I got I won some and I lost some. Um, I think that very soon we're going to move into doing depositions, which quite honestly is a hell of a lot easier than what I've been doing in written discovery. I get, I mean, it's easier to do, plus I get a lot more straightforward answers quicker. And then on top of that, oh, the only other thing, and this probably isn't going to be a surprise to any of you guys, but now I don't have to keep updating this. Um, when she originally took me to court back in February of 2022, I appealed it to the circuit court and then I appealed it to the state Supreme Court. It was last October that appeal matured. And I just got a letter in the mail last week that they made their decision on it. It's exactly what I thought was going to happen. They just don't want to deal with it. So I went through that whole process just for them to dismiss it as moot. They didn't consider any of the issues. And they just basically are like, well, it expired, so we're not going to do anything about it. That's what I was afraid of, and that's why I also filed the lawsuit, so that it wasn't just going to get ignored. So I'm very glad that I'm suing her, because this way I'm going to have the opportunity to do something about this. But this is pretty much what I expected. The only downside is, like, they were taking so long to just make this quick decision, if that's what they were going to do, that it seemed like they must be planning on doing something more with it. I mean, I even argued in it why it wasn't moot, and it seems like they're really just like, we do not want to deal with this. We don't even care if it's not moot. We're just going to say it's moot so that you can't do anything. There was one interesting thing on it, though. I don't know if this is what made them just make the decision or what happened. But in addition to just saying, like, hey, you know, this is expired, so we're not going to deal with it, it says that she filed an appendix last month in March. I mean, there's a couple issues with that. Like, she could file an appendix, but she had to do it in July of last year, and she didn't. So, I mean, there was a deadline. There were several deadlines last year, and she didn't file anything for the Supreme Court case. But apparently just last month, and I'm wondering if this is what kind of prompted them to look at the case now, she filed, I'm sorry guys, my roommate's TV is loud, if you can hear that. They know they're not supposed to have it on right now, so that's why they're blaring it. But the, basically, sorry, I get so distracted when I do that. The court case with the Supreme Court, she filed something last month, and she filed it 10 months late. I can't understand why she didn't do it when she was supposed to. And why do it now? I don't know. And I have no idea what she even filed. I've got to get a hold of them and get a copy of it, because she has to serve me a copy, and she has to certify to them that she served a copy to me. So I don't know if she just didn't, like, send the certification page, or if she lied about it and said that she did send it to me. But then again, it's like, why is she even filing this 10 months late? So I have no idea. But I gotta get a copy of that. And that's the only other thing that stands out, is like, well, I kind of expected it to be found as moot. But then it surprised me when it said also, you know, we're denying her petition to file this because we're dismissing the thing as a whole. And I'm like, what the hell do you mean, that her petition to file this? I didn't know anything about it. So anyway, so that's another avenue I'm going to have to explore and see what she said in it. I mean, I'm sure it's not good, and quite frankly, based on everything else I've seen from the discovery request, or the discovery responses, it's not going to be true. But, you know, I guess I'll just use that against her and show, like, well, you swore this to be true, you filed it with the Supreme Court, and, you know, all these things are false. And that's certainly not going to help her in the current case. So that's something. Oh, and I saw, Alan, you posted this. You said, what is your job currently? That's a good question. So I do TaskRabbit. Now, TaskRabbit, for the most part, it has a bunch of different categories, but for the most part, it's furniture assembly because it's owned by IKEA. So I assemble furniture for people. Um, I made great money doing that last year, and then it just kind of died around the wintertime. But from what I've been told by people who have done this for years, it always dies off in the wintertime. Except that by now it should have picked up, and it hasn't. I've got a couple of jobs here locally just doing it outside the platform, and I want to start a business doing this, building flat packed furniture, but um, I wasn't prepared for I really just wasn't prepared to have no leads and no jobs at all come up. So I don't know what I'm gonna end up doing. I gotta work on getting those tasks on my own instead of having them sent to me. In the meantime, I'd kind of been doing DoorDash and Uber Eats on the side, and so when my tasks for TaskRabbit slowed down last fall, I started doing those more. And I mean, essentially, I've been doing it full time through the winter. Uh, I don't want that to be my main job. It was my backup and side thing, um, but my main job just kind of died. And the reason I don't just go get another job, like a regular job, is because I've got this lawsuit going on. I have to go to hearings, I have to go to depositions, and I just simply can't have a job like a normal job where I answer to somebody else with a normal schedule because they're not going to want to give me a day or two off every week or two to go to West Virginia for a hearing. Um, like I really just can't get that kind of thing until I'm out of this lawsuit. And then of course in February I've got a week long trial. Like nobody's gonna give me a week off to go um, to trial. So that's basically what's going on. Um, and I'm just trying to make that situation better. So I don't see anything else on here. I do want to let you guys know we've been on 2.5 hours now, so I am going to sign off soon. I what I'm going to do for May. There will not be a budget review. I'm just not in any way on top of my life like that right now. TMUSA, I can't do any of that. I used to paint, but I'm not good enough. I mean, like paint walls and stuff, just like with my dad. But I'm not good enough to do it at somebody else's house. I wouldn't even be confident doing it in my own house, really. I'm not good enough to do that, and I don't have the equipment, nor the money to get the equipment to do it. Yard work, probably not. Again, because of the equipment cost, and then like the cost of getting the equipment versus how much demand there is for that. I don't think that would balance out. Now I can just mow a yard with a push mower. I can do that. But well, one, I don't have a push mower, so that would be a thing that I'd have to get. TaskRabbit has categories like the TaskRabbit app has just like completely died. That's a whole long story. It has to do with them adding a bunch of fees to stuff, but I'm gonna have to find a way to do it outside. And you're right, like it's gonna have to be little things like this. Now, change a faucet, I can't do. That might be something that maybe I could learn how to do, but just off the top of my mind, I don't have any clue how to do that. Definitely can't do the light fixture. I'm not going to do anything with electricity. The only electricity that I know how to work on is knob and tube wiring from the 1920s. I don't know anything modern. So any kind of stuff like this, I just know that because my dad lives in a house that's like 150 years old and it was falling apart. So I was constantly fixing things when I lived there. Um, so I don't know how to work on anything past the 1880s. Now, it is possible that once I get more stable, I can learn some more skills like that, and then, yeah, have those marketable skills. And if TaskRabbit was still functioning as a platform, that would be a good place to market those. But I don't know if it would be worth the investment of time and money to learn those things if I'm just marketing them on my own. So I'm really not so much doing handyman stuff as I am doing just strictly furniture assembly. I do have a task lined up for this week here in town. I'm going to be building like a whole house full of furniture for someone. I'm charging 30 an hour, and no one's had a problem with that so far. So I got a big task last week too. But it's hard. It's hard to market without an app. I'm just like going through like Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah. Now for the rest of this month, for May, I know that I'm going to be continuing to try to save money for moving. I am going to be probably working in Columbus every weekend. I am going to be still pretty overwhelmed with things, but one thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to really try to make sure that although I have very little time, that I try to get a video out for you guys. So if you guys have watched to the end of this, which, I mean, we're past 2.5 hours, so I don't know if anybody has, maybe I'll have to put up a poll in the community tab what video you guys would like. Would you rather me make a video about finally announcing the post office box and asking for mail to be sent there, or asking about that purchase from years ago, and what that purchase was that was to be an investment? Or would you like a video about what jobs I'm doing this year, and money, like how I'm bringing in money this year? Or would you like a video about you know what, I forget the other option. So let me know in the comments. Now that I'm talking about it, I think I'll probably have to post a poll in the community tab. But that probably won't be for like, I don't know, a little while before I post that. But I am going to wrap the stream up here. I've got a couple things I got to do today. I got to make a little bit of money too, and I scheduled myself to start dashing here in about, like 19 minutes. So I do have to wrap up here. I appreciate all the super chats to date, guys. And if you happen to see this video and you want to donate, and it's after this is live, the PayPal link is in the description of the video. That helps out as well. You guys got me shampoo last month, so thank you for that. It's much better than the stuff from Dollar Tree I was using. And that's going to be a thing this month. My hair, I got to get this cut. This is ridiculous. So yeah, I'm going to try to make that happen. But anyway, guys, I'm caught up on comments and I don't see any more. If you have any more and you're watching this back after it's live, just put them down in the description or in the comments below the video. I will put up a poll, and then you guys can expect one video from me this month. And then at the end of the month, again, we will be doing a live stream just like this where we can hang out and you can ask me questions about anything you want. I will see you guys then. Oh, TMUSA, that is a good question. What size shoes do you wear? Let me check something real quick. Okay. All right, I had no idea what shoe size I wore. Um, I'm gonna say tens, like a US 10. Um, the reason when I bought my shoes the other day, I bought them as tens, and that's what I normally wear. But I kind of vaguely remembered that I would always buy this particular type of shoe just a little bit bigger, cause if I buy them, I feel like if I buy them in what I normally wear, they were always a little tight in the toe. So I've been buying them in size 10s for years, and I think they're just a tiny bit loose. But then I went over and I checked my dress shoes, and they're 10s as well. So I must wear 10s. This is ridiculous. I don't know what size shoe I wear, but this just shows you how often I buy clothes. I legitimately don't even know my size. But I will tell you, just as of yesterday, when I was in Columbus, I am back in 30 waist jeans. So a year ago I was 32, and then I dropped to 31, and now I'm in 30s. Um, oh, okay. Ro, okay, I'll answer this and then I'll have to get off here. But so you said any advice for a 24-year-old in life you can share. I feel lost in life right now and don't know what to do. I don't really think you're in that bad of a situation. You think about it like this: most people graduate college when they're 21 or 22, and most people, until they graduate college, they're not even thinking. They haven't even started thinking yet about what they want to do. So you're only a couple years past that. Um, what I can do, or what I would recommend, if you're on Reddit, there is a subreddit called it's r slash find a path or find my path. I can't remember which it is. I would check there, probably read through it, and you can make a post if you want. That's exactly what that's for. That subreddit is literally just for people to kind of like who are like sort of lost to like find their way and what they want to do in life. But I don't really think that you're that far behind or like you're that lost. I know for me, when I graduated college, I went through this thing that I called post college depression. My entire life, from like preschool up through college graduation, everything had revolved around like how you evaluate life and whether you're successful or not was about grades, about what organizations you were in and what positions you held in those organizations, what your test scores were. And then suddenly, with no preparation, you just get thrust into life where everything that you've ever evaluated yourself on doesn't matter. And then so you're like, okay, what does matter? And I'm not sure I've ever actually found an answer to that. But I know like basically how disorienting it can be. The only thing I can really say to you other than looking through that is just I don't know that there necessarily is an answer to like what you should be doing with your life. Just enjoy it. I mean, that's really just it. You know, don't get stuck in a job you hate. Don't deal with people you don't like. I'm not saying go out there and be cutthroat and, you know, go after your own happiness at other people's suffering, but if you're not hurting anyone else, just make decisions to that are going to be happy or they're going to make you happy. They're going to help you. So, but yeah, okay. So that's going to be it for today. If you guys have anything else, you can drop it in the comments once this video re-uploads. I will be just working so hard this month on working so many hours to work on those financial goals that I posted earlier this month and just get my past stuff paid off, and also to save for this apartment. But you won't hear from me much because of that. Um, but I'll post a poll, I don't know, maybe later today or maybe later in the week on the community tab. You guys can vote for what you would like as a video, and I'll get that video up this month. And then we'll do this again the end of next month. So, all right, I will see you guys then.